Okay, this is Public Access Be Kind Rewind Part 3. We are playing the Skinny Jeans edition of the game. We are down a player. This is starting to look like one of those shows where they can't afford to have all the actors in every episode, and so they spread them out. But that's okay. We have a really good reason and justification for Santiago to not be here. Uh, we're going to do some recapping, and then we're going to reintroduce ourselves to Ash again via the Key of the Child, which you owe us, Ash. But let's recap first. So you have two active mysteries, the house on Escondido Street and the Deep Lake Lurker. And boy, oh boy, are a lot of things going on, and they seem like they're connected. So let's talk about that as well. So the house on Escondido Street, this young man saying he's Casey Wilcox came to you and told you the story about the family, the Rappaports, their abandoned house, all that business. Over the course of 2 sessions, we, investigated things. You've got this question: what happened to the Rappaports? It's a complexity 6. You have 6 clues. You're in pretty good shape on that one. The really important thing, though, I think, is that this young man who's claimed to be Casey Wilcox appears to not be Casey Wilcox, because Tanya met the real Casey Wilcox out in town just like by happenstance, kind of by happenstance. It was a very lucky coincidence. It's a small town, so who knows? But that Casey Wilcox made reference to the story but has no particular interest in what happened and doesn't consider any of it to be a weird mystery. But the reason why this is so important is because Tanya was supposed to be meeting your Casey Wilcox at this bar, and the whole time your Casey Wilcox was texting you, Tanya, to say, "Oh, I can't make it. Sorry, I'm a little tied up." And while that person was sending you these messages, people at our second mystery were being murdered. And that is the Deep Lake Lurker. Now, the Deep Lake Lurker is, in this mystery, we have this legend from the 90s. Every year, a kid at this summer camp goes missing. And they've reopened the camp to the town's consternation. The new owner, Billy James, who's quite a character, has reopened the camp. And Emily Beaumont, one of the camp counselors, has come to you all. She knows you're working on a TV show about mysteries or something. That's what everyone thinks. And she wants to see if you'd be interested in looking into the disappearance of one of those kids who was her best friend, Jessica Stosky. Crystal and Santiago were really wrapped up in that last session while Tanya was kind of doing Escondido Street. Santiago got a job at the camp. Crystal got tormented by tweens, and that is sort of the overarching thing of what happened. But in the night phase, importantly, well, one thing, Joey Keene, the lifeguard, was, we believe, taken by whatever the Deep Lake Lurker is. And that's your question. You have to figure out if this so-called Deep Lake Lurker that is grabbing these kids from the lake, if the lurker is an actual beast or a monstrosity, or if it's like some ghost ghoul Jessica Stosky trying to claim a new victim, for the lake or something like that, right? But in any case, whatever it is, took Joey Keene, the the lifeguard, and then while Crystal was trying to tell Emily about that, Emily got pulled away. This is during the weenie roast. Emily got pulled away, and then we ended the night phase seeing her being tied to a tree, having been killed quite brutally, actually. And your Casey Wilcox's text messages were kind of like almost like hinting that they did it, right? When it's not confirmed, but it kind of was giving that hint. But also, someone tried to kill Santiago too. He was the presumed third victim. He got trapped in the freezer by this individual who wears this weird brass bull mask under a hoodie. We glimpsed the killer, and so Santiago was trapped and rescued eventually, but tried to kill Santiago too. And I think that's going to explain Santiago's absence right now. I think after being nearly killed and after murders taking place and all this other like stuff, and Casey Wilcox, who's somebody pretending to be this Casey Wilcox kid, this is all just a lot. I think Santiago just goes away for a few days. You're all just kind of chilling. We're going to be fast forwarding a few days ahead. Ash came back from wherever he was at, and that's where we're going to kind of pick up a few days later, basically. But I will tell you that Pine Rock Ridge, the camp, is closed. A couple of people going missing and dead will do that. So you can actually go investigate the space now, free of the kids. Crystal, you might be happy to know. and and that's basically the deal there. And you still have this lingering issue of Escondido Street, and now there's this like killer roaming around. So there's a lot going on, right? Let's take a look at the Latchkeys too. Oh, one other thing. Tanya hung out with the big man. So that was the thing that happened last week too. The big man had a weird little liminal space, extra dimensional space apartment in the basement of Escondido Street, and Tanya hung out with him. They played records, and Tanya lugged around the VCR that flashes 12 o'clock without being plugged in. And the big man cleverly played Walking After Midnight. Anyway, that's all. A lot happened, basically. So we're pretty well caught up. I do want to take a look at the Latchkeys. Um, Tanya's got three conditions. So that's the main thing to know. And Crystal, you are the next victim, which is a special condition that you can't clear in the normal ways. Any questions before we continue? Okay, in that case, before we introduce the next day phase, let's get back to, or I've been saying Ash, I meant Dash. Let's get back to Dash. Dash, please turn the key of the child.
In a very cinematic push in the house the Latchkeys have been staying at, there's a calendar on the wall, and it shows June, June-ish, a date in June, and the year. And as the camera gets closer, the calendar seems to rewind until it's an entirely different calendar. 20 or so years before, on the same day, it's night in this different house, and we see young Dash sitting in the living room reading a magazine, People magazine, the World's Sexiest Man issue, of course. And as he's doing that, we see the sweep of blue and red lights through the window against the wall, and the doorbell rings, and Dash looks up, considers for a moment. It's late. It's really late, and he doesn't know who would be coming to ring the bell at this time of night. And he gets up and he opens the door, and we see over his shoulder two Deep Lake police officers. And that's where we cut.
Oh, interesting indeed. Interesting. Well, the day phase. It has been a few days, like I said, and we have a new mystery. That mystery is called Slumber Party Summoning Circle. You can all follow along on the Character Keeper. Dash, you have a childhood friend who still lives in Deep Lake. Her name is Samantha Harrington. Back then, Samantha was a real hellraiser. Please describe a time when Samantha got the two of you in deep trouble.
One of Dash's favorite things to do with Samantha was to go to the mall, or any real place where the eyes weren't quite as focused on the customers, and they would often leave those stores with pockets full of candy, bubble gum, little things that they didn't need or even really want, but they sure liked taking anyway. But they got confident. Samantha got maybe a little too confident, and one day they went to the hardware store, and she dared Dash, or bet Dash, that she could walk out with one of those big axes. So they stood in the the aisle. Dash helped her slide the axe down the back of her pants, cover the top of it with her coat, and together they very stiffly walked toward the exit when Samantha got a little cocky and the axe clanked against the side of the door, drawing the attention of the cashier. And that was how the second time Dash encountered the Deep Lake Police Force.
Indeed, we love a visit from the sheriff's department. Samantha invited the Deep Lake Latchkeys to her house for a so-called slumber party for adults. The three of you attended, perhaps reluctantly. Let's paint the scene. How did Samantha decorate her house to invoke the feeling of a 1980s girls' slumber party?
I think that she has gotten a bunch of old sleeping bags, like character branded sleeping bags, My Little Pony and She-Ra and all of that kind of stuff. And she's sewn them into slip covers for like the couches and chairs because now that they're older, they're not going to be sitting on the floor anymore, but it'll feel like they're sitting in sleeping bags. And yeah.
That's so elaborate.
Because she spent all of her time making slipcovers, she quickly went out to a craft store and got a bunch of really neon crepe paper and has molded all of this like bannerment across like one of the walls that kind of is reminiscent of all of the puffy sleeves.
When you walk in, there is a bowl of big floofy hair ties, the slap bracelets, just all sorts of accessories appropriate to the era that you can't miss.
The slumber party was also attended by a few of Samantha's local friends, and it was mostly an excuse to get together, drink, catch up. Samantha did, however, plan a few classic slumber party activities and treats. Prank phone calls, a game of girl talk, and even gift bags stuffed with Lisa Frank stickers and friendship bracelets and that kind of thing. Near the end of the night, Samantha produced something extra special from her closet, a copy of The Crying Circle, a little-known board game from the 1980s that was originally marketed as a competitor to Hasbro's Ouija board. The Crying Circle is actually a kit for performing a summoning ritual. It includes a game board that unfolds into an altar, a plastic athame, a cassette tape with discordant music and chanting on it, battery-operated candles, and the so-called Tome of Sadness, a booklet with sad stories and question prompts that are posed to participants as they play. The idea is you set up your little summoning circle using the items in the box and then take turns reading stories and prompts from the Tome of Sadness in order to get participants to cry. If everyone sheds at least one tear, La Llorona, a figure from Mexican folklore, will appear and grant the group a single wish. Samantha set up the game and then read aloud the opening invocation. La Llorona, gather our tears. We shed them for you, O Mother of Sadness. Show us you are near. Then everyone took turns reading from the Tome of Sadness. Each of you, which question or story from the Tome of Sadness finally made you cry, if even just a little, and why?
I want to say that this board game had cribbed just the last sad paragraphs of Watership Down, and it's just the end of the bunny rabbits. But they're foxes in this story, and while Crystal did not cry at anything else, the idea of these tiny little foxes going to their death. That animal violence speaks to a place in her, and she kind of has to wipe away the mascara.
I think Dash, who is has availed himself of the alcohol quite a bit by this point, during this Watership Down-esque story, is very poorly stifling laughter. And he's straining so hard not to laugh, especially seeing Crystal crying from the corner of his eye. But eventually he just breaks out and he laughs so hard that a couple tears come out.
La Llorona will take it.
I think Tanya draws a card that has a question prompt on it, and that prompt is uh, tell tell the circle about a time that you left a sibling behind. And Tanya just stares dead into Samantha's eyes and is like, "You did this. You rigged this." And storms off into the bathroom. And in the bathroom, she cries.
Let's now paint the scene. How do you know it actually worked? That you all brought something into the world by playing the crying circle?
Crystal has an actual anathema and a belt loop in the back of her pants, and it warms more than her body temperature.
As Tanya is running the faucet to wash off her face and wash the tears off her face so that no one knows that she cried, she looks into the mirror and she just sees this weird grinning smile floating in the air behind her in the mirror. And it's a classic horror moment where then she looks back and it's not there, and looks back in the mirror and it's there, and she looks back and it's gone.
Dash, without warning or really any kind of a emotional explanation for it, he just can't stop crying.
One of the party attendees, Linnea Rodenbecker, went catatonic, blank-faced, seemingly unaware of her surroundings and unable to speak. Given Dash's behavior, Tanya's probably being quite shaken, and Linnea's apparent catatonia, the party ends. Samantha agreed to watch over Linnea for the rest of the night while everyone else went home. She impressed upon you both, Crystal and Tanya, to take care of Dash as well and get him home safely. And the very next morning, probably mere hours after you got home, Samantha comes to you. She comes to the house. Linnea hasn't gotten any better and might be possessed by whatever you all brought into the world. The first order of business is to find out what's possessing Linnea. Is it a sorrowful ghost like La Llorona, or is it something more demonic in nature? This is your first question. Is Linnea possessed by a sorrowful ghost or something more demonic? It's a complexity 4, and it unlocks the next question. You also have a key here called the Key of Sadness. At this point, I will remind you that you have 2 other mysteries. A few days have passed since the murders at Pine Rock Ridge, but nevertheless, I mean, you know, the there's a killer, yes, but there's also the mystery of the Deep Lake Lurker. It's still there. Maybe it's connected to all these events. There's 18 Escondido Street and the fake Casey Wilcox, the disappeared Rappaports. What happened to the Rappaports? It's all stuff that's still out there, waiting on you. And now this new thing with Linnea, which is maybe a little more pressing because Linnea's like frozen and catatonic at Samantha's house. But in any case, let's go around the table and see what everyone wants to do. Dash, after you've come to a little bit, what are you gonna do?
I think I think he'd be most interested in the dealing with Linnea.
Where do you go?
If she's at Samantha's house, he'll
Yeah,
go to his house. Yeah.
good. Um, Tanya.
Um, I think that Tanya is feeling like whatever is going on with the house on Escondido Street is haunting her and just wants to get that, like, nip that in the, it's not a bud at this point. It is far beyond that, but get that snipped off. So I think wrapping that up, maybe one more visit to the house.
Okay, I like that. Crystal.
I think that Crystal has been entranced by Tanya's VCR and is compelled to go to the house as well, because that is the closest thing I've seen to real magic since the slumber party last night, and I'm interested to see how this is possible.
Do you want to try to trigger a nostalgic move either that morning or on the way to the house, or because it could be a group, all three of you. But
Yeah. Could I convince someone to stop by the record store, record shop on the way to the house?
Absolutely.
Cool.
let's have that scene. Go for it.
Um, yeah, I think it's like a classic, like small town record shop. It's not too big. Maybe it's even um, it's like a house that just like the first floor of it has been converted into this little. So there's like a living room that has like record shelves, maybe the registers in the kitchen or what would have been the kitchen back in the day, that kind of thing. And yeah, open the door and it has the little like jingle bell to let the clerk know that there are people inside. I think there's a really nice shag carpet. Like it feels very like early 70s in here. And I lean over to or not so much lean over, but yeah, I'm chatting with Crystal as we walk in and just like, did you ever come here? Back when you lived here?
I have been here before. I think so. I collect cassette tapes because sometimes you hear really weird things that have been imprinted, like especially on the really old cassette tapes. The sound changes over time, and I've been fascinated by that. So, like in high school, I had a whole stack. Come here and spend some coffee money occasionally.
Um, and yeah, there's no cassettes anywhere. There's CDs.
Mm-mm.
It's
Nope.
amazing how these formats change. Have you been using Napster? And I kind of whisper it so that the clerk doesn't hear. Have you been using Napster at all? Or would it be, it might be Kazaa at this point in time, but yeah.
No, I haven't. In fact, I do listen to some music occasionally, but I prefer books for the most part.
There's some weird stuff with some of the compression artifacts with these MP3s that you might think is interesting. Kind of brings back a little bit of that audio cassette vibe. You know, like CDs have just been so crisp and so good for so long, and of course vinyl, right? Physical analog sound is just that's the epitome of clarity. But
You'll have to send me some stuff because that does sound really interesting. But Tanya, and she's like clicking through something on the shelves, looking through the records. I do have a serious question for you, Tanya. Can you tell me why all the token dweebs at the library think we're sisters?
no, I can't.
No.
That's between them and me. And we're just gonna have to leave that one at that.
Huh.
Um,
This feels like a good cut for the scene. Do you, Tanya? Do you want to make a case for clearing one of your conditions?
um, I mean, can I just like this record shop is like her takes me back. So can I make the argument that it's just kind of like a grounding, like
Just
this is,
eases you. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, yeah.
and I guess we'll get rid of haunted. I don't
Haunted, I
remember.
think it's
I felt
haunted.
like that was
Haunted's not. It's inflicted in a special way, but it's cleared in the normal way. So, um, you'll probably get it again as soon as you get back to the house. So just make room for it. I think it'll be the third time it's been inflicted on you. But you keep going back. So what are we gonna do? You also get to define a clue here. The clue could be something that you notice in the records, crates. It could be maybe there's another. Maybe there's like someone here who overhears your conversation. I don't know. Whatever you define what the clue is. Um, I'll also note there might be plenty of wastoids and losers at this shop too, if you want to,
Oh yeah.
follow up, Tanya. But in any case, let's check in with Dash. Dash, I think you're in Samantha's car because you're probably in no condition still to drive. and, and she says, and Samantha, she's just taking you directly back to her house. She is, let's describe her a little bit. She's still wearing her like oversized sweater and hair scrunchies and like crimped hair, that she had done up for the slumber party. She has very dramatic eye makeup on. And I think like as she talks, you occasionally glimpse like a little her little snaggle tooth, that she's always had that you might remember from when she was a kid. Samantha had to take care of her ailing elderly parents, and that's why she never got out of Deep Lake. Her parents have long passed, but maybe she has this, she feels an obligation to maybe stay and take care of their house, which she inherited. Who knows? How do you know? I think she's always kind of like resented you a little bit, Dash, because you got out of Deep Lake. But what makes you think, based off what you know about her, that it's not so much like her circumstances that kept her in Deep Lake, but she's just kind of scared of change?
I think in a lot of ways it's in everything about her. The oversized sweater and hair scrunchies, that wasn't just for the party. That's her look. She looks like she was flash frozen in the early 90s and has just never changed, never visibly grown up.
This is all so fucked. I can't. What, what did we do last night, Dash?
Can you stop yelling, please?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. It's just I've got Linnea Rodenbecker, fucking Daryl Rodenbecker's daughter, in my living room, like doing her best, like fucking comatose patient impersonation. How am I supposed to be calm in a moment like this?
What does freaking out get you?
Yeah, I guess. Whatever. This is all so fucked. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's she's gonna be fine. She's probably just like dehydrated or exhaustion.
Daryl Rodenbecker is the biggest piece of shit in Degoya County, Dash. That son of a bitch thinks he runs everything around here just because he's got Rodenbecker money. And the way he treats Linnea like she's his precious little doll, he's gonna flip his shit if he thinks that something happened to her while she was at my house. I have enough shit to deal with in this town,
Yeah,
I'm a bit of a black sheep.
we'll get her fixed up. We'll get her. She'll be fine. She just and her dad won't even know. Probably.
He made her do all that purity ball shit when she was little.
Oh, ugh,
He's the worst.
so gross. Dad's marrying. Ugh. No.
You get to her house, and one of the other or two of the other party attendees who you met last night, they are Corey Hammond and Lulu Cholula Rodriguez. They are on the lawn to meet her car, and they're like, she's fucking gone, she just walked off.
See, she's fine.
No, man, she's not fine. We were like snapping our fingers in her face trying to get her attention. She just kept walking. We couldn't stop her.
Do you know which way she went?
And Cholula says, I mean, down that way, probably back to the ranch. I don't know. Samantha says her family's ranch.
Well, we're already in the car. Let's head that way.
That sounds good. Let's get back over to the other group. Did you want to tell me what this clue is?
Uh, y- y- yeah. It is a CD that it's like the um the cover, the label, the insert is like zine produced, like it's like photocopied from Kinko's, and it says Rappaport never dies. And it's some weird local rap mix. Yeah, from MC Rappaport.
Where's this going? Like, how is it a clue? What's the clue?
Well, it's tied. It's potentially, we don't know the third child's name.
Oh, I see. Someone with the name of rap, a local rap artist, with the last name of rap before. Okay, good. That'll be a fun clue to try to work into a theory. Go ahead and note that down.
It's in my head. Um, but that said, I asked Crystal, have you ever been to the garage?
No. No, we should definitely check it out.
That's where the real wastoids and losers hang out. And the garage of this record store is this is where all the stoners hang out. There is reggae music playing. There's old like Fish bootlegs and Grateful Dead, and it's just like the sort of like 420 experience here in the garage.
Is that where we're headed next? The garage. Love it.
Part of the record store, but yeah, it's
Oh yeah.
behind the curtain. This is not where the normies go.
Got it. Got it. Fantastic. We'll pick up with that in a moment. Yeah. So Corey and Cholula stayed behind, but Samantha's now taking you down in the direction to try to intercept Linnea. You eventually do see her. She's not she's hard to miss. She has she's still wearing what she was wearing last night, which is like she was kind of going for like the kind of 80s good girl pink cardigan, kind of situation. And so you kind of see that pink cardigan slowly drifting down the street. And before you can get close enough, a truck pulls up, a brown pickup truck, fancy looking, like the kind of pickup truck that a rancher drives when the rancher has a lot of other people doing the ranching and they just collect the money for the ranching, right? That kind of work truck pulls up, and Daryl Rodenbecker gets out in his typical, he wears like Western wear, pearl buttons, the whole situation, right? And he's like, Linnea, baby, is that you? What's going on? What are you doing out here? And she just kind of like ignores him, and she actually walks up to the truck because it's in her path, and she just bumps up against it. And she doesn't like change her path. She's just kind of waiting for the truck to move. Samantha's like, holy fuck, you gotta help me out here, Dash. Daryl, I cannot let Daryl Rodenbecker see me. I cannot let him know that I'm involved in whatever this is. What do you do, Dash?
Very awkwardly, I think he'll just blink at Samantha for a minute and then roll his eyes and say, "Okay, get in the back, get in the back."
She
And
does.
awkwardly, he'll climb over the center console and adjust his big, heavy sunglasses and start driving the car up alongside the truck and say, "Mr. Rodenbecker, is that you?"
He looks up and he's like, who the hell are you?
Oh, I, I, oh gosh, woman's name that I cannot think of. Autumn McEwen's boy.
Autumn McEwen. I don't know anybody named Autumn McEwen. Why are you driving Samantha Harrington's piece of shit Honda?
Oh, because I'm just back in town for a couple days and I borrowed it. Uh, everything okay here?
Uh, Look, Leonardo DiCaprio, I got this covered, okay? I don't know what's going on with my daughter here, but it seems like maybe you know what's going on because you're here up in our business. And I happen to know that Linnea was hanging out with Samantha last night, and I also happen to know, and you're driving her car. I don't know what the hell's going on, but and like Linnea is still like walking into the truck, and I want the day move here, Dash. What do you fear is going to happen if you lose your nerve, or if this just goes badly?
For the third time in his life, he'll meet the sheriff's department.
Indeed. You are you. What are you trying to accomplish, though? I guess ultimately.
Trying to kind of convince him that they'll we'll give Linnea a ride home and you know boost her spirits, get her out of the. She's just really hungover.
Yeah. Well, and Daryl's probably in the middle of his workday, right? So maybe he, has to go do other things. Um, Roll with composure.
That is 10.
10. Be thinking of how you get Linnea into the car and away from him. I'm going to check in on Crystal and Tanya. Let's talk about the garage affixed to this house. And yeah, let's just paint the scene. How do we know this is a place where wastoids, dweebs, and losers hang out?
Sounds like the smoke rolling into the kitchen from behind the cashier. From underneath the door leading to the garage.
I think there's a few couches where like the legs of the couch have been knocked out, so the couches are even kind of crooked, and there's just yeah, dudes just ripping it. Yeah, while lounging on these couches.
Welcome to New Mexico.
Crystal will go right up to the couch, plant herself between two people in the pass circle. Indica?
Oh, I want to hear Ben's contribution to the
I
wastoids and losers.
I think that going in there is naturally a tall, skinny wastoid and a rounder, shorter wastoid standing outside, and you hear them commenting on you as you walk in.
Fantastic. Continue, Crystal.
Just that, sitting in a pass circle. I'm thinking that I'm going to start by enjoying the substance and then start asking questions about rumors people are spreading about the murders at Deep Lake, at the campgrounds.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That will be the talk of the town, right? Tanya, what are you doing?
Um, could I? I'm sort of like I'm investigating this Escondido Street thing. Can I pitch that maybe the layout, like this is a ranch house, that
Mhm.
the layout is the same
Oh,
as,
let's see. Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah.
oh, maybe I'm even like poking around and trying to figure out like where would the basement be? Like, was that basement real?
Is
Like,
there an architectural detail that stands out? Yeah,
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 like
that's
that
good.
kind
Yeah, I
of thing.
like it. Um, so you're not invoking the wastoids, dweebs, and losers then?
Oh, I need to talk to them.
I
Um,
think so. Well, let's read the move. It says, bu- 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 something about you causes the motorheads, dweebs, and wastoids of Deep Lake to trust you. What is it? Once per session. Oh, you just have to be in a place occupied by them. Okay, got it. That's fine. Go ahead and roll with. Oh no, you just roll regular, but you get an extra clue. So this is great. If you want to invoke it, it's going to be
yeah,
with reason.
cool. That's gonna be a 9.
Mhm. And Crystal, you can go ahead and roll with presence.
Presence is also a 9.
Fantastic. So I owe some clues and complications, and then we'll also have Dash saving the day with Linnea. Let's take a 5 minute break. We'll come back and do all that. Dash, the scene is yours.
Dash will smile just winningly and say, she had a bit of maybe a little too much tequila and it was maybe a little old, a little woody. Um, we can drive her home. I can drive her home for you. It's on the way and not a big deal. We'll take care of her. We'll make sure she's fine. Get some water in her. You know how it is after a real good night, right?
I have to say, son, I don't normally approve of letting my daughter get into a car with a man that I don't know.
She
But
is perfectly safe with me, I promise.
by the look of you, I can tell she is. And he helps guide her to your car or to Samantha's car. Does not notice Samantha. She pulls a Care Bear blanket over her a little bit over the floorboard. And he says, all right, I gotta go finish some stuff, some work related stuff, but Linnea, I'll be home real soon. And she just sits there, just like staring out the window, saying nothing.
We'll get some water in her, maybe an aspirin. She'll be fine.
He takes off, but I think he pulls forward just enough for you to like pass him, and then he kind of waits to make sure you're going in the right direction after you leave. Where do you go after that?
Yeah, gonna go to the ranch.
Yeah, Samantha pops her head up. She's like, "Oh my God, thank you. That was great, by the way. You did great."
It's not my first time manipulating an older man.
And you can see her roll her eyes from the rearview window or the rearview mirror, and she's like, "Linnea, hun, are you okay? Are you in there?" And again, Linnea just says nothing. And you head to the ranch. Tanya, you said you were looking around the house, looking for or looking around the garage, maybe looking for like architectural features that might be helpful because this layout is exactly like 18 Escondido Street. You do find two clues because of your die roll or because of your move. You get two clues here. There's going to be a bit of a complication, which we'll talk about in a bit. But for now, let me just tell you the clues. The first thing you'll notice is something that you didn't actually pay any mind to before. um, you would have noticed in the basement of 18 Escondido Street, one of the walls had it looked like it was maybe like originally decorated by maybe some previous occupant to be like a child's play area or something because one wall had like a little mural, like a little painted mural, like it was maybe used for a nursery or something like that, right? And part of that mural was a very precisely, accurately rendered blue door on the wall. It only sticks out now because in your mind because this garage has that same blue door, just the blue door painted on one wall. It is unmistakably the same door. That is your clue. First clue. Your second clue. You notice that this family who's here who lives in this house, they have height marks on a door frame for one of their kids. Um, and they've noted the years, right? And it's kind of like from the late 80s up through or like late 80s up to the 90s, right? Except there's one mark missing. The mark from 1994, the same year the Rappaports disappeared. Perhaps just a total coincidence, but it stands out, especially given all the other context of what's going on. And Crystal, you're owed a clue as well for the Deep Lake Lurker. And yours is actually just kind of falls in your lap, actually, because there's a group of people smoking, talking about the murder, right? And the disappearance of Joey Keene, and oh, I knew Joey or I knew Emily, it's the thing to talk about. and they have laid out on the little table in front of them a map of the lake and the camp. And you'll see that the map has several places marked on it. And the places marked all over the map are pentagrams, like weird, like little occult symbols marked all over the map. He's like, yeah, man, this map, I've had this for years. I never knew what it meant, but I think there's something here. I think there's some occult shit going on, and it's back. It's back, baby. We're back. What do you do, Crystal, with this knowledge? I mean, it's your clue, but
Hmm. I think Crystal is quiet, and in like the moment everybody else stops talking, Crystal says, I was there.
they look up. They're like, you were there?
Yeah, I watched Joey get pulled into the lake. Just classic goth girl deadpan.
What the fuck?
I was just queuing up shots. I was gonna do like we're here kind of filming for like the mystery of it all, and I watched it happen. Like,
Have you told anyone yet?
I mean, I don't really get on with I don't know what the bacon smells like in this town, and I don't really want to get tied up in something. Cops, man.
One of them is on the phone, on a cell phone. He's like, hey, hey, Bill. Yeah. Yeah, bro. Yeah, yeah, you too. Hey, uh, I got a lead on the Joey Keene thing. There's this chick here, out at the garage. No, I'm not. No, no, of course I'm not smoking marijuana, Bill. Why would I do that? Yeah, she says she was there when Joey got like pulled into the lake. You should like question her or something. All right, cool. Yeah. He like hangs up. He's like, the sheriff's coming right over to ask you about that. I hope that's cool.
Bill, was it?
No, I'm Bobby. Bill's my brother. My brother's the sheriff.
Yeah. Listen, I won't tell him about you smoking every other puff, so long as you don't tell him which way I'm going. I'm just like,
You sleep. Good. I like how both of those things, for them to be fulfilled, requires one of them to fail. Right, yeah.
I'm a little stoned,
You are
okay?
a
The
little
logic
stoned.
isn't
Yeah, yeah. The
going to
logic, the
make
logic
complete
isn't
sense.
logicking. Yeah, that's good. I think I'm gonna put you in the day move to like get away from the sheriff, who is probably not far away. Just what are you afraid is gonna happen if you fail?
That I'm going to lose all of the rest of my next few days dealing with the cops at the Deep Lake.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and roll with composure.
Ah, Crystal has fled from the cops before. That is, what do? Plus one is a 12.
A 12. You get a bonus. Little bonus. Interesting, interesting. What are we gonna do for the bonus? I'll think on it. Tanya. Uh, Crystal just runs out. What are you doing?
Yeah, I just kind of look around and I'm like, all right, I guess she wanted to get to the house. And then I guess I go to the clerk, buy Rap Never Dies,
Here's
and
your complication.
uh-oh.
As you step out of the garage to go back up to the front of the house, you see now the little landing and the stairs that go down into what would be the basement. It is, of course, identical to the the Escondido Street layout. That stairway going down to the basement is very, very dark. but you can see down at the bottom of the stairs. There's a little boy, pale, wearing Ninja Turtle pajamas, and he looks up at you, makes eye contact with you, and curls his finger to beckon you down the stairs. I want the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen right now? If you lose control or lose your nerve or otherwise this goes badly.
Um, I think the thing that Tanya would be afraid of is that this is like pulling her back into that big man cave, into that sort of like alternate dimension
It's
in.
worse than that. You are getting pulled into another place and you're never returning from it.
Oh boy.
You can uh you can abandon this entirely and not have to roll, but if you wish to go forward with this and buy your record and try to follow up and try to find Crystal, you need to roll with sensitivity and you don't have haunted anymore, so that won't apply, but you are gonna have to roll sensitivity.
Um, yeah, I can manage that. Um, ugh. Use that, didn't I? Yeah, we will roll some dice. That is an 11.
Oh, interesting.
So it goes down to a 10, right? Because
Yeah,
minus.
yeah.
Um, but I actually want to mark the sandstone arch and bump that up to a
Oh,
12 tier result.
interesting. I owe you both bonuses. I think I would like to call an audible here on the rules and say if you both don't mind your bonuses being spent on it, I'll give you an Odyssey tape.
Yeah,
Good.
both good with that. I'm good with that.
Be thinking about how you handle the scene, either how you resist going down there or you otherwise keep your composure, Tanya. And Crystal, I think as you're running out, someone will actually stop you. The woman who works there, she's wearing like a kind of a moo you know. It might be her home as well, and like house shoes. And she says, "Hold on, dear, you forgot this." And she just presses the purple clamshell case of an Odyssey tape into your hands. But you don't got time for that right now. You can take it and you can go. The tape has a label. That label is Astral '09 Pyramid Passage Pure White Contact.
This woman in a muumuu looks like she's covered in crystals too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I want to pick up with Dash. Dash, you can pull up to the ranch. Good old Rodenbecker Ranch. Now, you're all from this town, so you'll know that the Rodenbeckers are the richest, oldest family in not just Deep Lake and Nagoya County. And there's a gate at the front of this, ranch. There's a long, gravel driveway, and you can see the familiar Rodenbecker Ranch symbol, which is a stylized RBR with a snake winding through the letters, kind of affixed to the top of the gate. The ranch itself, the ranch house as you approach, it's a single story home with a kind of rustic exterior, but it's palatial in size. It's enormous. It's got wings, so it's like this ranch style home, brick, but like enormous, like really big. Samantha says, "Oh my God, this is all too much today. Thank you, Dash, for your help on this, by the way. I would feel really bad entrusting Linnea to Daryl Rodenbecker's hands right now. Although I don't feel much better bring her back to this fucking insane asylum. They're all
Have
they're all cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs here.
so maybe this isn't your fault at all. Maybe it's genetic.
She kind of looks at Linnea and she's like, no, she's always been the normal one. Well, I guess Silas is normal in his way too, but she's always been the normal one, you know? Like she's the twin that didn't completely fucking crack, right?
Wait, wait. And you can see like Dash just lights up entirely. What happened to Winnie?
Well, have you ever seen that movie The Matrix?
Of course I've seen The Matrix.
Right. You know what? I don't want to spoil it for you. And
Ooh.
you pull up, and indeed, you see Linnea's twin, Winnie Rodenbecker, though she looks very different right now, standing on the porch of the house. She has dyed her hair black and slicked it back, and she's wearing wraparound chrome shades, and she's got a full, like, pleather bodysuit and trench coat. And Samantha says, that's what happened.
Oh
To
my
Winnie.
God.
She calls herself Trinity now, just know that.
Of course she does.
Right. Yeah, okay. All right. And you can stop the car and kind of get Linnea out. And Trinity Rodenbecker, she does like that fast, like kind of like ninja run down the stairs, you know, like really quick, and kind of walks really, really purposefully and arms at the sides, like directly to you. Shades. She says, who are you?
In love. Oh my God.
That sounds like something one of the machines would say. How do I know you're part of the resistance?
Girl. And he'll just.
She's like, what are you wearing?
Absolutely a polo shirt that's just a little too short. So if he stands up straight, little strip of belly. Jeans that boot cut. It's 2004, and very nice Skechers.
She looks over at Samantha. You're here with her. She's a machine if I ever saw one.
No, no, no. She couldn't be a machine.
She like
really
walks
doesn't have
around the
any.
car and looks at Linnea, and she's like, what happened to my sister?
Well, she had a bit to drink last night, and it didn't. She didn't take to it.
Samantha says, we think she's possessed by a devil or a ghost or something.
Really, Samantha?
We summoned like a ghost last night.
Or that.
Trinity says, oh, my dear sweet sister. If she's been possessed by something, I can believe it. She's pure, innocent. She's the perfect vessel. She's the perfect vessel for a demon, a ghost, or something worse. The robots.
Right. So,
If a
maybe
demon
some
tried to
water?
possess me, it would take one look at my fucked up life and run. That's for sure. But maybe there's something else going on. Maybe Linnea's not possessed at all. Maybe she's waking up from the simulation. Maybe we're the ones sitting in our rooms, staring directly ahead like we're in a waking coma. Maybe she's the one who's finally free. Samantha says, we just need to drop her off and get out of here.
No, I really need to see the inside of this house.
We'll cut away from that for a moment. Well, Crystal. What'd you get on your die roll? It was a 12, right? Where do you go once you well, actually give me the scene. How do you like narrowly avoid the sheriff?
I think it's moving on the other side of the house. Like we see the camera pan and the sheriff is walking in the front as she is leaving out the side door of the garage. And will make her way through several backyards, reminiscing of her own latchkey days. Around that fence, oh, they built something new there, kind of like doubling back and heading towards the house on Escondido Street.
Tanya, give me your scene.
Um, I think I'm standing at the top of this uh, basement stairway, um, and I sort of like clutch the CD to my chest and just go, "Oh shit!" Um, Another fucking basement. And I start to take the step down. I kind of want to make the pitch here that maybe simultaneously with Crystal and Tanya, well, that we had all been discussing the mystery of the house on Escondido Street the past couple days and had kind of been getting stuff put
Oh
together.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like this moment on both sides, like it just like clicks. Um, and that we can, yeah, solve the mystery as I'm
Oh,
stepping stairs, essentially.
do you have a theory, or do you all need some time to think about it?
Might need some time. I have some weird pitches.
We'll take 10 minutes, but before we go on break, let's just review the clues really quick. You do have your one question here, which is what happened to the Rappaports. Your clues, and you have a lot, are the wrappers from Reese's Peanut Butter Cups found on the window where alleged Casey thinks he saw Elliot that one time. Hugh had financial difficulties, possibly connected to something illegal. Sage smoke formed a figure pointing down, presumably the basement. A photo of the Rappaport family with a surprise third child. um, there was garden tools caked with dirt in the living room. There was this weird like candy land that Elliot had that doesn't exist and is not searchable on the internet. It has characters that don't exist that that Casey remembered. But again, we don't even know that that was really Casey. It's all getting very strange now. The Rap Never Dies mixtape by someone called MC Rappaport. This mural with this blue door painted in both locations, and then children's height marks on the door frame of the garage in the record shop, but the 1994 mark is missing. We'll take 10, we'll come back, and we will answer that question, and we'll maybe do like one more scene per each character, and then we'll wrap our face there. Okay, so let's start to figure out this question, which is what happened to the Rappaports? Who wants to just present like the overall like answer, and then we'll kind of see if the clues fit.
The overall concept that we're playing with is that there's something about how these houses are constructed, and particularly with the digging and having a basement,
Mhm.
that has opened up some type of um, passage into interdimensional space or through interdimensional space. The Rappaports, specifically Hugh, because of the financial difficulties, wanted to escape the dimension, the reality that they live in, and
Mhm.
sort of use this passage. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. We don't really have evidence of that, but we do know that they are no longer within this dimensional existence.
Right, yeah, yeah.
How widespread was this? I don't know. Interesting question, because we know that there's at least one other house that follows this same architectural plan and
And it has
seems,
some of the same weird symbols, and yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Um, well, and also they have a kid who didn't get their height mark in '94, which
Yeah,
implies that something happened that year that the Rappaports disappeared that may have also happened to this person, right? It's weird.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is interesting because this house that we're in right now, I mean, I didn't think about this when we were building it, but it's a record store and not a residential place,
Hmm.
residential home anymore. So it's entirely possible that the family that lived
They used to
here
live there. Yeah.
also disappeared.
That's really good context, actually. Or maybe, or what if, like, just to give that one clue some valence, maybe you find out that that family's kid went missing for a year, the same year the Rappaports went missing, right? Which is why there's not the height mark.
Huh?
Um, yeah,
Well,
that's
that's
really,
something we were talking about. It's like maybe like there was something about 1994 where the kids were started like figuring out this passage and then
yeah.
sort of
Well,
like pushed the entire family to escape through the same thing.
so your basic answer here is that there's something underneath the houses, or there's something about the architecture of these houses that allows portals to another dimension to open up. And that the Rappaports escaped through one, and we think that maybe this other family had a kid when they went missing for a year. That's what happened to their kid too. And
Mhm.
1994 is the really key year here. So that's really interesting because that accounts for the Rappaport clue, like they were clearly trying to escape something. It accounts for the sage smoke form pointing down to imply that there's something underneath that's causing this like extra dimensional space. It's not a clue, but just the fact that the big man chose to make his appearance there feels really, really relevant to everything, right? Um, we have the alternative timeline Candyland, which might have been brought back from this place. The two blue doors being like a weird connection between the two houses. Maybe that is even related to whatever the ritual is that kind of has to make this happen. I don't know. The missing kid from the other house. Uh, those five clues, I think, are pretty well accounted for here. It's a really interesting idea. What about this like this third Rappaport kid who the Rappaports had like a picture of, but no one else seems to remember, and
So,
so
okay,
yeah.
okay. So partly how they were describing or how they were discovering all of this is that people were moving from dimension to dimension. The
Oh,
third kid is not our Casey. So it's the Casey Wilcox from the other dimension.
Alternate
oh,
realities, alternate realities.
oh. So the Casey you have is like the wrong. It's the Casey from the other
Have
dimension.
both Caseys on this side at this point.
Oh, that's
Third,
good.
the surprise third child is the other case, but like everything got very confusing of who was.
Sure.
Some people are disappearing, some people are coming. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's up, sometimes it just got very complicated very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. Um, and this CD by the MC Rappaport suggests like a different timeline Rappaport, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, really, really interesting.
And the wrappers of Reese's peanut butter. What if our Casey was allergic? What if he had a nut allergy? And it implies that the other one didn't.
Oh, that's really interesting. Um,
Or
I'm
Elliot.
layering.
I mean, this might just be a clue that gets explained away in some way. It may not be like
Yeah.
super relevant. Um, Also, the garden tools caked with dirt in the living room is a weird tool or a weird clue.
And I think it implies the digging. So maybe there was like an to tie back to Hugh, like maybe there was an effort to like find like we need to figure out
There's
how to
something
get through this
underground.
portal. Yeah, like and we know
Yeah.
it's underground, so like let's dig. And so he was just always
Got it.
digging
Got
and
it.
trying to find like,
From the outside of the house, trying to figure out what's on the other side of the blue door.
oh yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's really great. So these Reese's peanut butter cup wrappers, thoughts? Do we have any? I mean, it seems like it was just left as a message by Elliot, the little boy who disappeared with Rappaports, who was seen through the window. Um, I don't know.
Well, we know other Casey is kind of fucking with everybody here. Maybe that's what he did. He left them there to mess with
Oh,
this
it's
A
Casey.
so.
literal red herring.
Oh,
Yeah.
he just made that up. Oh, it was just a lie because he's been lying about everything. So why wouldn't he lie about that? Okay, great. That's great. It's +3. It's a great roll. It's a really cool theory, actually. I'm actually really excited to see where it goes. Who wants to roll it?
I think Mike should.
All right.
Do it.
Oh no. What'd you get?
It's only a 3.
You rolled
No.
how could you rolled a 3?
I rolled a 2 and a 1.
Oh, and so you got a 6 total. Great. Well, that's a miss. You can mark the key of the cave dweller to bump it up to a 7 and 9.
I think we should.
I like this theory too much. I'm willing to sacrifice it.
All right. Each latchkey will narrate a flashback to a fun activity they used to do with their family while at home. You have answered the question and therefore have unlocked the opportunity. Resolve the mystery by revealing the truth to Casey Wilcox, which sounds to me like confronting him with, like, we know who you are, what you're doing, or maybe he doesn't even know. And then, if you wish, destroy the house at 18 Escondido Street or perform a ritual to banish the evil that resides there. That's the other part of this, right? The house is cognizant of all of this because it's tormenting Tanya specifically, right? And so it seems like whatever they unlocked down there also causes that, like, it's there's some kind of entity that's
Mhm.
in the house, right? I think that's really important here. So you have the opportunity. I mean, yeah, the resolution is pretty straightforward. You got to just basically confront not Casey with it, right? And then it's resolved. Then you can do whatever you want with the house after that. But yeah, it's really intriguing. There's a complication here. I'll handle that. Um, but otherwise, you're good to go. Question answered.
And with that, I walked down the stairway into the basement where the
Oh, you
ghost.
go into the basement. Oh, I think that'll just wrap your day phase then. I think I like your night phase picking up whatever with whatever's down there. Crystal, where do you head after you're done?
Well, I'm going to the house on Escondido Street, so I might be on the other end of whatever
Oh,
that basement
good.
is,
Yeah, that's really good.
right?
Let's just pick up with Dash McEwen then. Dash, as you and Samantha and the two Rodenbecker sisters go inside the house. Let's paint the scene as we go inside the house. Everyone, what here shows that the Rodenbeckers are one of the oldest families in Degoya County?
As you walk in, right above the front door is one of those keystones with the date carved into it, and it says 1853.
I think there are oil painting portraits of the many generations of the Rottenbeckers that kind of like line this hallway of this main foyer area.
The architecture of the house does seem to reflect the periods in which those areas were built. And so as you head further away from the front door, you get into more modern construction and
One other thing I'll note, it's not related to the history of the place, but it's really dark. Like they use blackout curtains, and so everything is, even though it's the middle of the day, what little light there is in here is just like from like end table lamps and stuff. So it's like a really dark, dimly lit space.
Dash pushes his sunglasses up and says, "Oh, thank God."
Trinity will escort uh, Linnea to the safety of her quarters in the resistance portion of the house, and leaving the two of you in the front. Dash, what do you do?
This place looks like a funeral home. I love it.
This family is so cracked, dude. I mean, you remember all the stories, right?
Some of them, yeah. But it's just weird rich people shit.
I I heard they have I heard they have a cousin here, Dolores Rodenbecker. She has a room here somewhere, and she never leaves. She just sits in her room all the time, never leaves. They say she just sits there watching videotapes all day.
Which room?
How the fuck should I know?
All right. I'll let you know when I find her. I'll just start walking backwards.
You can make the meddling move with composure.
That is another 10.
You find yourself down a hallway. It's very dark. There is just a single electric sconce on the wall with a red shade over it, casting a sort of dull crimson light down the hall. All of the doors are closed and seemingly empty, but underneath the crack of one of the doors, you see the unmistakable glow of a television in a dark room. And you can hear, like, it sounds like singing or like applause from an audience or something. There's something is being watched, some kind of like show is being watched. What do you do?
Going to push my ear up against the door and see if I can make out anything from the TV.
Let me give you a clue. As you make your way through this hall, you kick something with your foot and you can bend down and pick it up. It looks like a baby doll's hand, and it's wrapped with white thread. What a strange little detail. And it's a clue for the mystery. You can listen, and you can hear on the other side coming from the TV, a chorus of voices. You make the cotton easy to pick, Mame. Da 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 da.
Oh my god. He's gonna creak the door open.
You can peer inside. I think Samantha is like at the other end of the hall. She's like, "What are you doing?"
Investigating.
This is crazy.
Yes.
Inside this room, which smells horrible, by the way, there is a bunch of like old food containers, clothes strewn about. Situated quite centered is a old lazy boy recliner sat in front of this TV and VCR, and there's a stack of videotapes, and there's a like some kind of musical, some recording of a musical on the screen. Mame, actually. But it cuts to another one. It cuts to like another scene. Like not the movie version, but like some kind of stage performance of Guys and Dolls. And it kind of cuts to one of the numbers, you know. And it kind of seems to like cycle through different performances. And in all cases, there's the same redheaded actress being featured in the scene. And you can tell that whoever's sitting in the lazy boy watching this is gently bobbing along to the music. Let's paint the scene. Actually, yeah. First of all, has anyone here marked the fathomless well yet? Then in that case, the paint the scene question is, apart from the videos, how is this space a memorial to Dolores Rodenbecker's glory days as a singer and dancer?
As the camera pans up from the like half full Chinese takeout looking containers mixed in with the laundry in a pile leading up to the lazy boy behind the chair, you can see three glass cases with uh, a shape of a woman holding her old costumes, lit from every angle.
Roofing off of the oil paintings, I think that same artist or an artist in that same style, the entire like wall is painted with a mural of all of the different like scenes from different like movies and musicals that she was in, and it's just kind of like all stitched into one progressive story, um, wrapping around the room.
There is just a stack of signed headshots of herself that maybe she never got to hand them out. Maybe she just likes having them.
You still haven't seen Dolores, who's presumably sitting in the lazy boy. You're still kind of like approaching from behind, maybe. But the image on the TV changes to not be a musical, but instead a shot from behind of Tanya walking down into the basement of some house you don't recognize. You don't know where, but it's definitely Tanya, though. It also cuts to Crystal walking down a hall. It's like a high up shot of Crystal walking down the hall of 18 Escondido Street. I want the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve right now, Dash?
I'm going to see a video of Dash from behind and something's coming up to get him.
It's worse than that. Dolores will lean forward, press stop on the tape, and that's the last we'll ever see of you, Dash McEwen. Or you can turn around and leave right now. But if you want to keep going, you got to roll with sensitivity.
Ooh, sensitivity. Yeah, let's do it. 2.
2. The screen changes a third time, and you see yourself walking in this room, approaching that lazy boy. We see you bend forward and look around into what's sitting in the lazy boy. And what stares back at you is just a face that is utterly blank. It is a void. It is just emptiness. Pinprick, starlight night staring back at you. and someone reaches forward and hits stop on the VCR. You never were, perhaps,
I
unless
think I
you're
will
turning a
turn the
key.
Yep.
Indeed. I do want to know how you feel as you see these two scenes of Crystal and Tanya, which is definitely happening. You're not imagining it. How's it making you feel?
Just that pit opening in the bottom of your stomach, the blood running cold, something wrong is here.
Go ahead and take a condition. Something is wrong here. What do you do?
He'll push the door a little further open. His expression has gone from kind of amused and curious to more somber, and he'll say, "Is that CCTV? Where's that video coming from?"
An old lady, very old, shriveled, wearing a wearing a very now ill-fitting dance costume, like a leotard with shiny blue and red details, leans forward. She has a bright curly red wig situated on her head, slightly askew, and she looks around and she looks up at you and she says, "Oh, hi there. I don't know what's going on." And she clicks her remote and it goes back to a scene of her performing. She's like, "Oh, there we go. Oh, would you look at that? That was me in my prime."
Why did you have video of my friends?
Oh, to be back there underneath the lights, the music. Oh, I knew from the time I could walk and talk that I was going to be a star. I was made for the stage, you see. When I was a little girl and would go and watch the shows, then occasionally rolled through town, I knew it. Those beautiful dancers laughing gaily and kicking high enough to shame the devil. Oh, it spoke to me. They spoke to me. They said, "Dolores, baby, you belong up here with us, with the lights and the music and the applause." Oh, Daddy never thought I'd amount to anything, but I sure showed him, didn't I? And I would have made it all the way to Hollywood if it hadn't been for, well, if it hadn't been for the lake.
Okay, very Grey Gardens. Why did you have video of my friends on your TV?
Oh, the lake, the lake. I never thought I'd stop sinking. I just sank down and down. I even thought to myself in the middle of drowning, do they have shows down here? Maybe I can do a little twirl for the catfish. You're getting nowhere with her.
Yep. He'll just roll his eyes, and I think he's going to try and take the tape.
You can. She doesn't stop you.
Thank you. And he'll eject and start walking out of the room with it.
Indeed. That concludes our day phase. Let's check in with the dusk. All right, so first things first. You need to decide if you're going to watch an Odyssey tape. If you are, you have to tell me which VCR it's going to be watched on. Now, I'm actually adapting like what's going to be the ultimate rule in public access, which is the tapes are essentially watched out of character. We assume your characters watch them at some point, but when we do it in the night phase, it's because we're watching it, right, for them in a certain sense. And so you can watch the tape in any VCR that's been found so far in the game. You have your VCR at the house, but you also have the VCR from 18 Escondido Street, and there's also a VCR in Dolores Rodenbecker's room. Different things happen depending on where you watch the tapes. So if you want to watch a tape, I need to know if you're doing that and which VCR we're watching it on as players. Thoughts?
I don't know if I want to add the Odyssey tape to the basement problem, guys. I'm a chicken, and I don't know why.
I'm happy to throw a tape on the fire of my soul.
I. Hmm. Let's do it.
Okay.
Which VCR?
Now, this is an interesting question.
This is entirely out of character, so it could be any VCR. We don't concern ourselves with how it gets watched there.
I
I
mean, Dash
mean,
took a tape from Dolores, so
I have to put something new in.
Indeed, indeed. We could watch it on Dolores's VCR. That sounds good to
But
me.
if we're closing out the house on Escondido Street, it might be more awkward to watch something there.
I'm just carrying that VCR
Oh,
around.
right.
Yeah, the VCR is just, yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna do it, I want to do it on a VCR that always blinks 12. That feels fun for me.
Is that 2 votes then for the Escondido Street VCR? Fantastic. Um, you all get to do one action during the night phase as well. Just one single action. Uh, I know that Tanya and Crystal are down and they're going to their respective places, making this connection. It sounds like maybe what you're doing is what are you both doing? Like, what are you going to try to do here?
I mean, Crystal's gonna try and do a ritual in the basement of Escondido Street. That's
Okay,
just
yeah.
gonna happen.
Perfect, because I got a ghost boy to talk to.
Heck yeah.
So Tanya, you're going into the basement. Crystal, you're going to the basement. We think these houses are kind of connected somehow, and you're going to do a ritual to reopen the portal or close it, or what are we doing here?
I mean, I think that it's a banishment. Like
Yeah,
Crystal's gonna
okay,
try and rid the house
got it.
of whatever's here.
That works for me. And Dash, what are you going to do with your night phase?
I think if we're already at Rodenbecker's house, it's going to get darker. This might be good time to see if there's some reason that Linnea was chosen, if she is a vessel for something.
Yeah, I like the idea of a lot of time would have had to have passed to go from morning to nighttime in Rodenbecker Ranch, but I actually have an idea for that. So to justify it being nighttime there, so to hold that thought. But that works for me. We have key prompts to resolve. Who has one that has to be that's not just that's more than just like marking a thing? Who has to do a narration basically?
We all
Everybody,
have.
everybody has key of the cave dweller, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I marked Sandstone Arch, but
Okay.
that does,
Which one did you mark, Ben?
I did Sandstone Arch too.
Okay,
So.
so you also have signals from the other side that you can do as well. So in order to get XP, signal from the other side is a little bit like like a between Echo in the Night. Whenever you narrate something into the Odyssey tape that is reflective of something going on in the real world, or vice versa, you narrate something into your scene that is reflective of something going on in the Odyssey tape, or suggestive of it, then you get a signal from the other side and you get to mark XP. So bear that in mind. Also, oh, go ahead.
in your interpretation, which is the canonical interpretation, is it just the immediate Odyssey tape, or can it be any Odyssey tape that has been?
I'm into the idea of it being any. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Especially, I mean, I think ideally it kind of connects to the one we're doing, but I'm open to anything. Just feels weird, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm communicating from the other side. That's the spirit of it, right? I'll also remind you that a big job you have as you do the Odyssey tape is you're gonna at the end of it define a clue that helps explain what happened to TV Odyssey. So be thinking about that as well. And so, if there are no other questions, we will take a 10-minute break. When we come back, everyone will do the Key of the Cave Dweller, and we will also do the Odyssey tape and your various actions that you're doing. So just be ready to do all that when we get back in 10.
Which tape?
The tape
Oh, the Astral 9 Pyramid
Astral
Passage,
09
Pure White
Pyramid. Oh yeah,
Contact.
let's
We need
assign
to
the
do
things.
clues
Yeah,
or questions.
yeah. Everyone does. Thank you. Everyone does the first prompt. Um, Second prompt will be Mike. You can do the second prompt. Sarah, you can do the third prompt, and Ben, you can do the fourth prompt. Okay, let's take 10. The night phase. Astral '09 Pyramid Passage Pure White Contact. The tape is an episode of Voyages Through the Astral with Lunaria Gomez. The show's neon pink title card scrolls up the screen as a synthy, spacey soundtrack plays. Lunaria Gomez appears on the screen, walking in the desert. She's wearing a white caftan and sandals. Her long dark hair has feathers and beads strung through it. Despite the age of the tape, the image on the screen is remarkably clear. In what ways does the desert environment seem even more real on the tape than it would in life?
As the camera follows Lunaria, we see a wind kick dirt up across the screen, and you can hear it faintly clinking into the lens of the camera and swear almost like you smell the change in the air.
Um,
Bec-
but
Because you're presumably inside of a structure watching it, not outside, you can notice when the all the moisture in the air is suddenly sapped away, leaving your lips chapped and your mouth dry.
And I think riffing off of those, you feel like you can see every grain of sand, every drop of moisture, and not only see them and smell them and feel them, but sounds like each you can hear how each one has been tuned to a very particular frequency. And whenever Lenoria steps, uh, uh, it's like an orchestral chord is being struck by all of these things acting in concert at once and responding to each other.
We watch Crystal enter the house on Escondido Street. It's nighttime, but it looks just as Dolores' tape predicted. We watch Crystal walk and pause briefly in the family room. The key of the cave dweller. Each of you narrate a flashback to a fun activity you used to do with your family while at home.
We see Dash, he's regrouped with Samantha in the hall outside of Dolores's room, and he's telling her about all the things that he saw in there and what she said about being called to Hollywood. And Samantha says, well, you used to think about stuff like that too. Isn't that why you left? It's like, well, yeah, like I liked that stuff. It's actually funny. In my basement, I used to rope my parents into doing these stupid little plays with me. I set up these cardboard trees and all this nonsense, and we tell these little stories, and they hated it. I knew they hated it, but I had so much fun.
It cuts over to Tanya and her family, and we see a curtain has been propped up at like 4 feet tall in the living room, and the parents are sitting in a sofa and a side chair. And Tanya and her younger brother look at the parents and say, "Today we have a very special puppet show for you, The Adventures of Happy Jack." And Tanya has like a squirrel and a little like beaver puppet, and her brother has like a bird and a bear, and they scatter back behind the curtain, and we see these kind of puppets do their sort of invisible staircases as they come up. And what's weird is that there's not just their four puppets, there's six puppets. One is a like a snake with wings, and the other is Happy Jack himself. And he starts talking, and the voice sounds remarkably like Happy Jack from the actual program, but like coming through like felt, uh, like like talking through felt as opposed to just resonating, and is just kind of saying like, "And what do we hate, kids? Nazis! And why do we hate them? They killed our best friend!" And at that point, Tanya's little brother like yelps and just like, "Jesus, Tanya!" And the curtain falls, and you just see the two of them with their puppets up in the air, and the other two puppets fall to the floor.
Crystal and her younger brother were always indoor kids, and especially on hot days, their parents were like, "All right, we're getting out of the house." Her father would have put up a badminton net in the yard, and we see a laundry basket full of water balloons. And we would all stand together two by two with beach towels strung between us and launch water balloons over this net. And presumably it was a game of catch that very quickly turned into who can whip a water balloon into the other person's face, teams back and forth. And by the end of it, they would all be wet, and it would just be an excuse to run around. And that competition was something that she and her brother talked about for years afterwards. Who won which battle of the water balloons in 1994, even.
Lunaria reaches a towering sandstone arch, a structure that she calls the first gate. As she passes beyond it, what makes you think for just a moment that she is no longer in our world, Mike?
We as she's walking along, she walks by these two giant cauldrons with fire, and a giant, for just a second, what seems like a giant winged serpent swoops by. And she doesn't really respond, but we see like the sort of like a breeze kind of like blow in her clothes and her hair.
Dash, when you went into Dolores's room and came back out, had a conversation with Samantha and the others in the Rodenbecker living room. It was morning time, but by the time you're done telling your story, and indeed, by the time, triggered perhaps by Lunaria Gomez, somewhere in some time and space walking beyond the first gate, you will look up and notice that it is completely dark outside. A whole day passed. Samantha says, Dash, what's wrong?
What time is it?
Uh, I don't know, like around 8, 9 o'clock.
It it was just like 11:30. Like just 11:30.
Was it?
What happened between me going into that creepy old lady's room and now, Samantha?
It's the machines. They mess with time. That's what they do, says
Yes,
Trinity.
that is obviously it.
We'll come back to this. Crystal, you're about to go down into the basement when you hear the pitter patter of small footsteps from behind you. What do you do?
I turn around.
To see a little boy dressed in Ninja Turtle jammies standing at the hall, going into. He's kind of standing in the hall, maybe like next to a door, maybe his bedroom. And he raises his hand and curls a finger, beckoning you to come to him.
Crystal does not want to do that.
What do you do instead?
She has a crossbody bag filled with candles and other witchy wares, and I'm going downstairs to recreate much of the slumber party vibe in the basement, and I'm going to perform a ritual to cast out this ghost and any other listening ghosts.
We shall see. Tanya, you're going down into the basement of that house, much as the tape predicted. You were there, going downstairs. We don't know when you came back. We don't know what happened in the intervening hours, if anything. Maybe you've been standing on this staircase the whole time. But you make your way down. And inside their basement, the record store basement, you see your Casey Wilcox, the not Casey, as he exists today. Jinko's flame shirt, blonde hair, sitting cross legged in front of a TV, watching a program. And there's this noise, this. The tape cuts to the last scene. No, I'm sorry. The tape cuts to a scene of Lunaria seated in lotus position, cross legged, atop a large flat rock. How has her appearance changed from the previous scene, Sarah?
Her hair cascades out and moves behind her as if she was possibly submerged underwater or suspended in gas. It branches and moves out and flows, and towards the ends of her hair, we see what looks like the tape glitching, just little bits of static along the edges of her frame.
Dash, I need the night move for you to remain in the house. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
Going to end up holding one of Dolores's outfits in a new glass case.
Interesting. Um, Wait, to be clear, you're going to be holding one of her outfits and doing what with it?
Oh, in one of the display cases. He'll be taxidermied as a mannequin.
Oh, I see. Okay, I want to make sure I understood correctly what was going on there. I'm not sure how it's worse than that, and I love that. So let's pick up dice if you're okay with that being a possibility. Because something is wrong here, I'm going to put you at disadvantage, and your rolling sensitivity as well. It's a hard roll, unless you have an item that'll help you cancel the disadvantage.
The goal here is just trying to keep my composure.
I think so, basically. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've got anything there. No.
Let's see how you do.
9. I got a 5 and a 5 and a 6. So
Hmm. Fantastic. We'll come back to this. Tanya? No, Crystal. Crystal? Same thing. Night move to proceed down the basement. What do you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
That I'm gonna be haunted by this kid forevermore.
Oh, it's worse than that. The house is going to take you with extreme prejudice. And because you have the next victim, I'm putting you at disadvantage. You're going to be rolling with sensitivity as well.
Okay. Do I have an item? I have my candles with me. It's a witchy move. Like, can I hold one and like
Yeah, yeah.
mumble
Light
to
your way.
myself? And
Yeah, yeah. That's good. Yeah, that'll. You can mark it and roll 2d6.
okay. That is 6 and a 4.
All right.
And I have a plus. No, I have a minus. That's a 9.
Okay. You got a 9 as well. Tanya, same thing. In this weird ass space with not Casey. What do you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
That I will join him sitting cross-legged on the floor 24/7.
It's worse than that forever. Because you have my two Caseys, I'm putting you at disadvantage. And again, sensitivity. You all get the same hard roll.
Just doing it.
Do it.
Ooh. It's a 5, but I will mark a thing.
You got a 5. Let's go back to our last stop. The tape cuts to the last scene. Lunaria is walking toward a great mesa. A series of black and white concentric triangles appears on the screen, a seeming gateway into the mesa. What happens when Lunaria walks through them, Ben?
as she steps through the first one, there's a flicker on the screen and the colors appear distorted around her. There's a ghostly after image walking beside her. It's still Lunaria, but slightly different. The hair is a little shorter, the outfit's not quite the same. And with each triangle she walks through, there's another ghostly, almost a tracking error of Lunaria until she passes through the last one and all of those images just collapse into her. But she doesn't look quite the same as she did when she first walked through it.
Dash, you have earned the right to do something in the house here tonight. What do you do?
I'm going to hopefully check out Linnea's room and see if there's something that might point to why she's being chosen.
I think when you walk into Linnea's room, she's sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the same spot on the wall that she's been staring at the whole time. Go ahead and make the meddling move with reason.
That is 10. 10.
10. You're watching her. And the moon is high in the sky. There's moonlight pouring in through the window. I'm giving you a condition from your previous roll, which is lost time. Like, where did all these hours go? But the moon illuminates your clue as well. She has earthworms crawling on her bed, over her lap, in her hands. Tanya, you sit down next to Casey Wilcox, the not Casey. He's watching an episode of Happy Jack, the lumberjack. The sound coming from the TV is just that scratchy, distorted sound I did earlier. And every time Casey keeps looking at you and pointing at the TV, and every time he opens his mouth to speak, you don't hear anything except just that scratchy noise. And in his mouth, you just see like a sort of like phosphorescent glow. And as the camera pulls away, we just watch the two of you sitting cross legged, staring at the TV. The camera backs out of the basement, back up the stairs, and that lady in the moo just quietly closes the door and locks it. Unless you're turning a key.
I am turning the key. I think this is going to be the point where Tanya loses a little bit of her reason, but gains some sensitivity. The fathomless well has arrived.
You're still sitting next to Casey, but he looks at you and he says, "Who am I? Where am I from? What does all of this mean?"
I haven't quite put that together yet.
I always find myself back here, watching this program. No matter what I do, no matter where I go, the day always ends like this. I'm not from here, am I?
In so many words, I think you are right.
Will you finish the episode with me?
Which one is it?
He takes your hand and you can continue watching Happy Jack the Lumberjack. Crystal Serrano, you're keeping it together. You got your candle. You're going downstairs. You can hear the little boy following you. You can hear his footsteps on the linoleum. As you get down to the bottom of the steps, he calls to you and he says, "If you close the portal, I'll have to leave forever."
Wherever you're going has to be better than here, kid.
Indeed. Let's just wrap the night phase. Crystal, just give us a little montage of you breaking the power of this place, whatever it is, and what does that look like?
I think her skin is crawling, that she is keeping it together, but it's like the fear of going down into the dark basement that you have when you're a kid is just constantly crawling under her skin. So she keeps jumping as she's lighting candles and occasionally looking behind her. And as she assembles her circle, we see the blue door on the painted and the wall downstairs start to glow around the edges. And when she finally goes and has assembled a circle around her, you can see her open the doorknob, twist it open, and then just slam the door shut. And we see the blue door completely fade from the wall and a little scorch mark like electrical fire where it was.
Indeed, the night phase ends. Day breaks with the three of you arriving back on the lawn at 26 Rodenbecker Street at the same time, back home. Housekeeping. Something from Lunaria from the astral, what's it called? Astral something something '09. Astral '09 Pyramid Passage Pure White Contact. Voyages Through the Astral with Daria Gomez. Something from that is a clue connected to TV Odyssey. Because you use the VCR from Escondido Street, you get to define a second clue that can be used for an active or can be used for any mystery, including a future mystery. It can just be a clue that's for the future. So one clue for TV Odyssey, one clue for a future mystery. Who has some thoughts?
It might be interesting for this video to have been at some point it says like shot in odd vision. And the odd vision is essentially what we were all describing in that initial paint the scene of like this weird like
Oh,
four-dimensional
interesting. Yeah,
experience of like
that's
hyper.
great.
Hyper realistic, kind of interesting.
That's a perfect Odyssey clue. Like odd vision. They had like a special filming technique at TV Odyssey. That's pretty good. Somebody can note that down. What about the clue that can be used for a future mystery or one of the current mysteries for that matter? I'll note that 18 Escondido Street is resolved.
What if in the future we find more appliances that just blink 12?
It has to be something from the tape.
Sorry. Then I will keep thinking.
What if the gate of Rodenbecker's ranch is actually a series of concentric triangles?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's good.
Super.
If that's a specifically a slumber party clue, you can go ahead and note it there if you want.
Are we cool with that?
Fantastic. Let's see. What else do we have to do here? If anyone has any outstanding keys, we'll do it next time. For now, before we go to the dawn phase, I want to take you back into the desert. The same deep desert. The same media cart positioned out in the desert all by itself. It blinks to life, and we see this big man once again in front of his tiny little table with his tarot cards. And he flips over the card of the moon. I recently beheld a red moon. It was a blood red moon, like a bullet hole in the sky. And then I looked all around me, and I saw dead things in the earth, rising up to witness this bloody moon, or perhaps to worship it. And the veil between worlds, between different realities, between different dimensions, between the lands of the living and the dead, was as thin as I'd ever seen it. It was gossamer, it was mist. I could press my finger into it and feel its feverish yielding. But the red moon was neither cause nor symptom. It was an augur. The image cuts off, leaving a hot white dot in the center of the screen. Let's go to the dawn. Rewards. You get rewards because you resolved a mystery. The rewards are, let's see here. You can't have that first one, but you can have these others. Oops, that's not going to work. Let's try that again.
They are in the keeper.
Oh, are they? No, okay. Well, I've already screenshotted this, so here you go. Casey Wilcox, you're not Casey, becomes a recurring side character. You get one extra clue on the meddling move when you consult him about matters related to Deep Lake's young people. You have Bill Hanscom's personal cell phone number. This is the sheriff. Maybe we don't know how you got it, Crystal, but maybe you did. And there's three options for a memento from the investigation. Ask another latchkey what it is, then add it to your corner of the house. Who wants what?
I love the idea of Crystal somehow going online, finding the sheriff's like stalking,
Yeah, that's
and
good.
just
Yeah.
having that phone number. So
Mhm.
I think it probably makes sense for me to take not Casey. Or is it Casey? I know both of them. My two.
Yeah. Just pick a note somewhere about not Casey. Everybody gets to use not Casey in this way, but you've chosen it. So
I will take a memento and I will ask Mike.
Um, you know what? Let's just make it the I bring back for you a copy of the alternative timeline Candyland. So you just get to keep this weird yeah, merriment chocolate
fantastic.
whatever Candyland.
Let's answer Dawn questions. You all did resolve a mystery, so everyone gets credit for that one. And let's do signals from the other side, whoever's entitled to get them or to try to get them. Ben, you want to make a case
one
for
but me.
signals?
That's what I was going for with the props set up in the basement, like in the Happy Jack video.
Thumbs up. Works for me. Tanya, yours was pretty obvious, so you can take your mark. Dash, did you share a good memory from childhood? Yes, you did. Did you go out of your way to reconnect with Deep Lake?
I mean, he did try and get into, like, he pushed for getting into Rodenbecker's
That's
house.
true.
And,
Yeah, I'll give you that. And specifically Dolores, too. Fantastic. Crystal, did you cut loose for once, Crystal?
I got high and ran from the cops.
Oh, that's true. Were you vulnerable with someone?
I don't think so.
And Tanya, did you go out of your way to reconnect with Deep Lake?
Instead of going directly to the house on Escondido
Oh,
Street
you went to your favorite record store. Yeah, yeah,
and not even also the garage, the
yeah.
hidden
Did you deliver a chilling monologue about something that happened to you in the past?
I don't think so. Not in this one.
And if we have any unresolved key prompts, just save them for next time. For now, stars and wishes.
I'll go. The scenes with Crystal and Tanya at the various venues at the beginning of the session were great, and Crystal running from the cops, just perfect. And the fact that she left Tanya there, even better. I really enjoyed Mike. You kind of were the tip of the spear on the theory crafting, and I really liked what you were building there. It was a lot of fun to work on that together, and I just really like. We've had a lot of practice coming up with these things together, and it's fun to do it. So that's a star for Sarah and Mike. Jason, Dolores is so much worse than the last time I encountered her with you. So that's great. I'm looking forward to that, and also just the image of Dash looking in that seat and seeing the void as his final the final glimpse we would see of him was so weird and so good. Oh, wishes. I need more Trinity. We should recruit her.
I am constantly nodding at all of her theories because I think she's dead on. She's got this figured out.
I mean, based off everything that Latchkeys have experienced, she's not completely like she's not as crazy as like you would think.
The Dash and Dolores scenes in the Ron Becker mentioned, that was just very evocative. I think the paint the scenes there were really good. Yeah, just everything about those, like I could just feel this sort of like dark, like old, like rancher's house in the middle of New Mexico, and this like weird, yeah, Pearl-esque like corner of it, in this strange like museum bedroom. And yeah, just the oh man, and just Dash just being in that situation and trying to process it. And I love just like yoink on the tape. Um and yeah, the record shop stuff with Crystal was like I mean, I was describing record shop that I used to go to, so it was very much a takes me back kind of moment. There wasn't a garage, but that's a fun twist on it. Yeah, like I and then star for Ben. It's just I didn't even realize that we haven't solved a mystery yet. Like that just dawned on me. I mean, it's only the third session, but like usually we're pretty aggressive about solving those things, at least the first one. So yeah, it was very fun to get one of those in the books again. Um, yeah, all the not Casey stuff and the like echoes of I saw the TV glow. I was definitely like feeling that, and that was cool. And I wish the night phase was a little longer to explore that just a bit, but I'm sure that there will be more and more of that. So yeah, I guess the wish is just yeah, more of this sort of like weird TV interdimensional stuff. I feel like yeah, and maybe some robots along the way. We'll see.
Um, Very first star was the suggestion in the chat when you wrote Big Man Cave. I lost my shit. It was so funny. The idea of this extra dimensional basement space. And I think it definitely like tying that interdimensional basement into the theory as well was inspired. There was a tiny star. It was a big star in a tiny moment when Dash was confronted with oh, I don't remember the father's name, the truck scene where you're just,
Daryl.
oh, we can give her a ride home. I mean, I can give her a ride home. Like all of that was super fun character building stuff. Again, yes, to all the Matrix references, we might as well be machines, brains and jars, any of it. Like I'm here for more of it. Um, the cut scenes into Dolores's like her memory tape of us going down to the basements was a super creepy, super evocative moment, and just kind of like lent a tone to the rest of the night phase as well. Yeah, I am having too much fun playing this game. Wishes are just to play more of this, and yeah, it'll be fun to see where we go from here.
Yeah, stars all around. It was a really, really great session. And it was a very like public access session, like it felt like the ne plus ultra of the public access experience we got today. Really, really great. I there's a part of this game where all the CFB games, but especially public access, where everything starts operating on almost like a subconscious level, and decisions are getting made from a narrative standpoint and from like a kind of scene framing standpoint where I'm not even sure if it's things that we're doing intentionally, but they're happening, and it's great. And the clearest example is the choice to have that other house be a record store, because it's such an interesting callback to the first time you met the big man, where he's playing records when you went into that basement space in Escondido Street, and then it turns out that the record store is connected to 18 Escondido Street, and specifically the basement, and Tanya was almost drawn to it in a sense, right? Like because of it, and it's just interesting how that all works, because I'm sure none of us had that in our minds when we were like describing things, but it all like really comes together in a really cool way, right? So just stars for that. Um, as a just as a thing that I always love when we play these games. Um, a really big star for Dash pushing into the dark places. I know a lot of that is at least, or some of that is at least in part because Ben, you know the mystery, and so you kind of know on some level what is going to happen, right? And that's great. That's fine because I know that, and I'm going to mix things up, so it's not exactly what you expect, right? And so, but I appreciate Dash like going into the pressing forward. I also the Rodenbecker Ranch. I mean, I was describing a lot of it. You all were describing a lot of it to paint the scene. This was this Rodenbecker Ranch felt the way I've always imagined it in my head, which is Rodenbecker Ranch in my head feels like the house in Skinamarink, right? Like it has this like darkness to it, this amber light to it, this like these closed off rooms and spaces, right? And you can press deeper into it and you might find your dead mother sitting on the edge of the bed, right? It's like that kind of thing, right? Like it's that kind of vibe, and this very much felt like that. And I like that our version of Deep Lake here is really coming together to be this like thing where the Rodenbeckers clearly have some kind of connection historically to whatever weird interdimensional stuff is going on, based off the triangles and based off the all the strangeness of their space, that the time passing funny. But also, I think it's really interesting that Trinity, like all of the Rodenbeckers, process this in their own way that makes them seem crazy. But Trinity, she processes all of it by thinking it's the Matrix, right? Like, so I know there's something about that that's really like really salient to me, and it all just kind of works really great. And I'm very happy with how we kind of got to that place with it. Love the way you all decided to sort of resolve Escondido Street and using that new house, kind of like as this sort of like a sort of fulcrum over which everything kind of turned, and so I really enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, it was just really, really great fun all around. I'm very super into everything that happened today. Wishes. I am very curious about like starting next session, especially. You're all going to start feeling the pressure of keys in a really like real way, and so I'm curious how that affects your gameplay and sort of how you react to things and how you tackle problems. And I hope that in a future mystery, we're able to get a high enough result on answer a question so that one of the answers can become a clue for TV Odyssey, right? So that'll be fun too. If it wasn't for just the disastrous roll on today's statistically speaking, today's should have been your best chance, but Mike rolled a 1 and a 2, so nothing you can do about that. But it was just a great time. I'm really excited. I'm really loving this campaign so far. I don't think I have anything else. Anything else? Okay. Well, I'm going to wave goodbye to everybody.